Welcome to Cowboy Corner. Cowboy Corner is brought to you by the Green Forest Cowboy Church, meeting at the North Arkansas Livestock Barn, 11 a.m. on Sunday mornings.
Have you ever wondered what in the world's going on with your life? Have you ever wondered if all the bad things that happen to you have any kind of good that can come out of them? You know, a lot of times a fellow, whenever he's going through a trial or trouble of some type, whether it's a big one that we would consider, like cancer or sickness or a death in the family or a loss of a job or something like that. Have you ever wondered who's got the reins on this deal? Where are we going with this? Why is it happening? How come this is happening to me? You know, our faith has got to be such during those times that we can just trust God regardless of the circumstances that surround us, what we feel, what we think, what we see. Our faith has got to rise up above that somehow or another. Boy, that's easy to say. Sure enough, hard to do. But the scripture tells us that without faith it's impossible to please God. And God does want us to trust Him during our very worst times. It's easy to trust Him whenever it's good times. Well, I don't even know you even have to trust Him if everything's going your way. Seems like everything's going your way. Why do you got to trust God? It's already working all right anyways. But we do. We need to trust Him during our good times or our bad. But it's really hard to muster up enough faith during our very worst times. I was out on a trail ride with some folks a few years back, and there was one fella that he had just brought his horse out of the field, I guess, and hadn't rode him very much at all, and he was acting up pretty bad. Really got ignorant and kind of acting like he's fixing to just swell up and blow up on him, and all the trail ride folks had done gone on, and they was about a quarter of a mile ahead of me and this fella, and I was kind of watching him out of the corner of my eye, and I realized he was having some troubles. So I kind of lingered back, and I was just kind of waiting on him to see what happened. I guess it's kind of like sometimes we like to watch a good wreck every once in a while, and I guess maybe, and if I was being honest, I was waiting around to see if there was going to be a big wreck. But in the big middle of it, right there in the big middle of it, this horse just was fixing to just do something stupid, and I thought, I've got to do something. So I rode over there, and I started bumping up against the horse with my horse and kind of rubbing up against him and kind of pushing him around, and I got the horse's mind off of what was happening. I got his mind off of throwing a fit and maybe a bucking fit or whatever and hurting this fella, and instead I got his mind on my horse and what my horse was doing. Well, I just kind of rode around circles around him and just kind of would run into him a little bit every once in a while, and before long this horse went from being teetotally mad to one that was semi-manageable, and me and this other fellow, we just rode off, then, and it kind of helped him out quite a bit. Matter of fact, he thanked me a number of times. He said, "I'm so glad that you saw me in the midst of my problem there, and you came over and you helped me." Well, a lot of times when we see somebody going through one of them bad situations, one of them bad trials, we need to ride up alongside of them. We see maybe their faith is lacking somewhere. we see maybe they're not trusting God the way that they need to be, that's when we need to ride up alongside of them and allow our lives to intermingle with them, and allow our lives to touch their lives, and our faith to help their faith to believe during their bad times. So you see somebody fixing to get into a storm, fixing to have a big wreck, sitting on a bronc, fixing to blow up, right up alongside of them, kind of show them the way out of it by trusting God somehow or another. Hey, here in a little bit, I'm going to play you some songs from Colby Pruitt's new album, Cowboys and Indians. Colby Pruitt's one of the Sherman Mountain Boys, and man, he's a pretty good cowboy, and I really appreciate his friendship and his talent. Boy, he is really a talented young man. So listen up.
Old Tuck was a cowboy that I knew years ago. Put a stretch in a story like a 40-foot rope. Young and wide-eyed, I believed every word as he rambled through the canyons, stampeded herds. He swore there were still Comanches and them breaks to the south. Seen good hands right in there, and they rode out. He had a horse he called Dollar, that twice saved his life. He lost him to Jim Shoulders playing poker one night. When I turned 18, I packed up and left home. Tuck was pretty old back then, and by now he's long gone. But I've heard it said that old cowboys don't die, they get put out to pasture way up in the sky. So if God's got a heaven for old cowboy legends, I hope the grass is greener on the other side. Yeah, he's got good horses to ride. The folks back home will tell you Tuck was just crazy and old, but I still believe in conquistador gold. And those memories look like a mirage in the distance, staring out from this prison of urban existence. So I saddle up and I go back now and then to remember who I was and just forget where I am. The concrete and steel, they spread out like a plague, consuming the rivers, the mountains and the plains. But one of these days, it'll all be gone. Somewhere that spirit will always live on, 'cause I've heard it said that old cowboys don't die, they get put out to pasture way up in the sky. So if God's got a heaven for old cowboy legends, I hope the grass is greener on the other side, and he's got good horses to ride. Horses to ride.
I'd like to visit with you here just for a minute or two, and if you can imagine how that old boy was feeling that was on that bronc. He was sitting there not knowing what was fixing to happen, whether he was going to get injured or whether he was going to make it through unscathed. Didn't really know. He had no idea. You know, that's pretty much how we are about life. We don't have any ideas what's going to happen tomorrow. Why it's hard to even think about what's going to happen in the next 2 or 3 minutes. We really don't know. But that's where our faith has got to kick in. We got to be trusting one that does know what's going to happen tomorrow or the next few minutes. And that's God. He sees the very beginning of our life. He sees the very end of our life.
There's nothing left but ashes. The fire is gone for good. I'm stuck here in this cabin, too cold to go for wood. So I thought I'd write a letter, let you know that I'm okay, though my leg still hurts a little from a bad spill yesterday. Dear Mama, I'm a cowboy, and I know it breaks your heart, and all the things they wrote about me must have torn your world apart. But Mama, please forgive me, though I drove you near insane. I never killed nobody, and I never robbed that train. We found him in the springtime at the table where he died. His tears had stained the letter when he bowed his head and cried. We all just bawled like babies as we read it one by one. Thought of our own mamas and all the things we left undone. Then we rolled him in his blanket, and as the boys all gathered round, well, I read his letter one last time before we laid him in the ground. Dear Mama, I'm a cowboy, and I know it breaks your heart, and all the things they wrote about me must have torn your world apart. But Mama, please forgive me, though I drove you near insane. I never killed nobody, I never robbed that train.
We hoped you enjoyed Cowboy Corner. We hope there was something said that'll help you to keep on headed down the right trail. Green Forest Cowboy Church meets at 11 a.m. at the North Arkansas Livestock Barn. Y'all come see us when you can.